The following is a New Year's address by the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
My fellow Bahamians, on behalf of my colleagues in government, my wife Dolores, and on my own behalf, I extend to you and your family warm wishes for a blessed and happy New Year. I also extend these wishes to visitors to our country and to those listening to this broadcast overseas, especially Bahamian students and public officers in the service of the Bahamas. As has been my custom, I wish to report to you on our national accomplishments and challenges during the past year. I wish also to give you a broader sense of the direction of our Bahamas in 2012. There's a famous quote of which many are familiar. The poet John Donne reminds us, "No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." Not only are we connected to one another by bonds of family, friendship, and faith, we must also place the days and decades of our lives in the context of our life journey. Likewise, as a nation, we must place 2011 and 2012 in the fuller context of world events. The Bahamas is part of the main in terms of our regional and international relations. We are linked to the continents of the world by history and culture, as well as by our commercial and economic relationships. We continued last year to feel the impact of the international economic crisis of 2008. If ever we needed another reminder of our reliance on and deep ties to the global community, especially our neighbor, the United States of America, it came in 2008, as it did with 9/11 in 2001. The global economic crisis has impacted countries large and small, developed and developing. No country has been spared. Indeed, the impact on some developed countries has approached near catastrophic proportions. Last September, I had the privilege of chairing the 2011 International Monetary Fund World Bank annual meetings in Washington, D.C. At that time, I spoke with various heads of government and finance ministers from every region of the world about the long-term impact of what is now being called the Great Recession. I spoke also with some of the world's leading economic and financial experts. I came away from those meetings with two overall impressions. Firstly, we are a fortunate and blessed country, and secondly, we are on the right track in terms of our response to the worst economic crisis in the lifetime of the overwhelming majority of Bahamians. Despite the severity of the global economic crisis on the Bahamas, we are still a most fortunate country. During my travels overseas to represent the Bahamas, I was struck by the number of leaders who informed me of the high number of civil servants laid off in their respective countries over the past 4 years. I am very pleased to say that not a single civil servant in the Bahamas was laid off as a result of the global economic downturn. As a people, we should be rightly proud of this significant accomplishment during this most trying time of our national life. During this severe downturn, many countries slashed social assistance and social protection programs. But in the Bahamas, we increased social assistance, particularly for more vulnerable Bahamians. And we significantly strengthened social protections with the addition of 2 landmark benefits, an unemployment benefit and a national prescription drug benefit. My second impression, and indeed conviction, is that the Bahamas is on the right track. In saying this, I am not suggesting for a moment that all is clear, nor my suggestion that there are no more difficult days ahead. What I do believe is that we are making significant and meaningful progress. Amidst continued economic challenges, there are improving economic prospects globally and here at home. In his year-end report for 2011, the president of the Inter-American Development Bank Luis Alberto Moreno, noted that the Latin American region is on the right path. He offered this note of caution and guarded optimism, which I believe can also be applied to the Bahamas and elsewhere in the Caribbean. Although we have reasons to feel good about what we have done, I want to emphasize that the task is not complete. The risks are there, and we still have a long to-do list for the region to strengthen its achievements and keep moving forward. Our worst enemy is complacency. To think we can lower our guard and diminish our drive for reform would be an unforgivable mistake. This is not a mistake my government will make. A review of our economic situation indicates that the year 2011 ended with continuing evidence that the mild economic recovery, which began in 2010, was progressing. This recovery is being propelled primarily by construction and tourism activity. Major public sector infrastructure projects and foreign direct investment were the drivers for construction. Holiday travel, supported by aggressive promotional activity, strengthened the tourism performance. Economic growth in 2011 is estimated at about 2%. Economic growth for 2012 is projected at 2.8%. Preliminary estimates of fiscal operations at year-end suggested improvements in the deficit relative to the previous year as revenue benefited from some non-recurring receipts. Revenues were higher than the corresponding period for the previous year, but were still performing below current forecasts. Cumulative expenditure was also below forecasts. Foreign reserves registered an increase of $26 million for the year, bringing reserves to $886 million at year-end. This is the fourth consecutive year in which the balance of payments recorded a surplus. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last 40 years, the Bahamian population more than doubled, increasing from almost 169,000 in 1970 to almost 354,000 in 2010. In New Providence, the increase in population was even greater, growing from almost 102,000 in 1970 to almost 249,000 in 2010. Residential communities now extend to the far reaches of New Providence, especially in the south and the west. The increase in population and a rapid urbanization of our capital island long ago required a comprehensive upgrade of our increasingly inefficient network of double-lane streets and roadways connecting residential communities to schools and commerce. Utilities and services such as water, electricity, telecommunications, and public safety and security infrastructure no longer served the needs of the residents of New Providence. My government began master planning in our last terms to improve urban development, town and subdivision planning, and the greening and beautification of New Providence Island. Having been returned to office in 2007, we continued from where we left off. A more than doubled population and the expansion of commercial enterprises outstripped our inadequate public services and infrastructure. The result was great inconvenience within our communities and increased cost and inefficiency across the entire economy. Further, we risk undermining our competitiveness as an international tourism, financial, and business center. We've now responded to these urgent infrastructure requirements, both physical and institutional, and did so mainly in the context of the global economic crisis that bore down heavily upon us. We turned that crisis into an investment in our future. At the same time, our spending prevented the collapse of the Bahamian economy. No responsible government could have followed the path of delay, indecision, and half measures. We had to act decisively and comprehensively. Not only was the collapse prevented, we are now moving forward. This intervention necessitated an increase in government borrowing and consequently government debt. However, government debt relative to the size of the economy remains well below the danger level and well below the level of our regional neighbors and most of the developed and developing world. Nevertheless, we will, as soon as it is safe to do so, reduce the rate of growth in government debt, and over the medium term, return the debt ratio to a more desirable and sustainable level. My fellow Bahamians, investing in infrastructure is a means to achieving essential national goals and creating jobs. Investing in infrastructure and housing is an investment in people and communities. It's an investment in the quality of life, livelihoods, and lifespans of generations present and generations to come. It's an investment in the future of the Bahamas. My government has worked tirelessly to preserve jobs in the public sector, boost job creation in the private sector, and advance job readiness and retraining. In this vein, my government updated our national investment policy and produced new investment promotion materials. I have led investment delegations to Canada and to Hong Kong, where the Bahamas has opened a new maritime authority office in order to boost business with the vital Asian Pacific region. Fellow Bahamians, Atlantis, a premier resort with a staff of nearly 8,000, is the largest employer in the private sector in the Bahamas. Kirsten International, owners of Atlantis, has defaulted on the repayment of a loan of $2.5 billion. In the year 2006, all of Kirsten International's properties on Paradise Island were used as security for the loan. Some of the proceeds from that loan were used for developments on Paradise Island. The remainder was used on other Kirsten International developments elsewhere around the world. One of the 7 lenders sought to take over the ownership of the Paradise Island properties with the backing of 4 of the other lenders. The other 2 lenders objected. The lenders are now in discussion amongst themselves as to an agreed way forward. They fully understand and are all of one accord that the continued successful operation of Kirsten International on Paradise Island is in their mutual interest and essential for them to realize repayment of their loan. Atlantis is enjoying a very successful winter season. Hence, notwithstanding any conclusion which the lenders may arrive at, all are interested in ensuring that the properties continue to perform well. The lenders have agreed that Kirsten International will continue to manage the resort properties. The future of Atlantis is bright, given its value as one of the leading resorts in our region. The overall and overriding responsibility for us is the protection of Bahamian jobs and the long-term viability of Atlantis. I am assured that the jobs of Bahamians at Kirsten International are secure. Ladies and gentlemen, the redevelopment of Cable Beach and the Baha Mega Resort are on target and gathering pace. The redirected West Bay Street at Cable Beach is open. So is the new straw and craft market in that area. The buildings along the former corridor have been demolished. In that space, spectacular new hotel properties are quickly rising from the ground. As construction of the core project advances during 2012, increased number of new jobs will come online. To date, nearly 1,500 Bahamians have been engaged on the project, and subcontracts valued at $84.2 million have been awarded to Bahamian contractors. My fellow Bahamians, I wish to speak directly to small business owners who collectively are as vital to our economy as our major business houses. I am painfully aware how difficult this economic downturn has been on you and on your families. To provide you better rates and more choice, we liberalized telecommunications. We've simplified and rationalized government forms and the payment of business license fees and customs duty. As your valuable time is money, we are ensuring that you can do as much of your business as possible with government online. We put in place a 2-year waiver of payment of business license fees for small businesses with annual turnovers of less than $50,000 and a 1-year waiver for medium-sized businesses with annual turnovers of less than $500,000. Last year, to help encourage the next generation of entrepreneurs, my government introduced the new Jumpstart program. Jumpstart offers startup capital and assistance to Bahamian persons over 30 years of age seeking seed money for new business startup. To date, some 72 applicants have been approved for the program. While our focus is on jobs and employment, we are also building a stakeholder society in which all Bahamians can own shares in various public, private and joint venture commercial enterprises. The dream of governments of the Bahamas of removing cargo freight from the center of our city on Bay Street is finally now being realized. We expect that shortly after Easter this year, all cargo shipping will be transferred from the privately owned Bay Street shipyards to the new Joint Public-Private Arawak Development Port Company, ADP. The port will operate in tandem with the new Customs Cargo Depot now nearing completion on Gladstone Road. This public-private sector enterprise is allowing us to transform a near monopoly for the few into greater opportunity for thousands of Bahamians. For the first time in our history, ordinary Bahamians can own shares in the lucrative shipping industry in the port of Nassau. In addition to the opportunities for the individuals, Bahamians will also be able to invest through various associations such as pension funds, credit unions, and the National Insurance Board. This year, Bahamians will also be able to buy shares in the new privatized BTC. The opportunity for Bahamians from all walks of life to own shares in vital sectors such as shipping and telecoms at generous initial price offerings is a groundbreaking achievement in terms of national and economic development. My fellow Bahamians, your government is investing heavily in the redevelopment of our tourism amenities and the rebranding of our tourism product. Last year, the new U.S. departure terminal opened. It is phase one of a three-phase redevelopment plan for the Lynden Pinland International Airport. Phase two, a new international arrivals and departures terminal, is on schedule with a completion date of October of this year. The completion of phase three, the new domestic terminal, is scheduled for November of next year. The new Airport Gateway Roadway project is now taking shape and is scheduled for completion in mid-2013. It will lead to the transformed Cable Beach by way of the Connector Road, Lincoln Gladstone Road to the new deviated West Bay Street. Further along, the Airport Gateway will connect with the New Providence Highway at the six-legged roundabout, which in turn leads to the new Sanders Beach Park along Bay Street, leading to the downtown Nassau and beyond to the Paradise Island bridges and the eastern end of New Providence. Once completed, this new highway will be the most impressive entryway into any capital city in the region. I recently noted that the redevelopment and transformation of our historic capital city is gathering pace. This will make downtown Nassau the most attractive of such city centers in the region for both Bahamians and for millions of annual visitors. 380,000 new airline seats have been added from major tourism markets into the Bahamian destinations, giving us more non-stop connections to more destinations in the Bahamas than ever before. This includes new flights from destinations in North and Central America and restored non-stop flights from Frankfurt, Germany, after an absence of more than 20 years, and to Grand Bahama from Toronto after an absence of more than 30 years. The government of the Bahamas is now set to undertake one of the more comprehensive and ambitious initiatives in our history to enhance aviation. This will improve air transportation systems, increasing flights and airlift across our island chain while modernizing airports. The initiative will create an independent body to investigate aviation incidents and accidents. It will reform the aviation sector and offer better means to address the air transportation needs of our family islands. My fellow Bahamians, we continue to honor our commitment to developing the gifts of our young people. We will increase funding for the resources necessary for formal education. We will increase our investment in youth development programs, including assistance for youth bands and junior achievers. We've also increased sports funding. The very successful $2.5 million Self-Starters program continues. To date, it has provided financial assistance to some 600 new entrepreneurial projects undertaken by individuals between the ages of 18 and 29. Last year, we launched the 52-week National Job Readiness and Training Program. It is the single most ambitious training program in Bahamian history. The 3,000 Bahamians enrolled in this initiative across the Bahamas are acquiring new skills. We fully expect that many of these young persons will gain permanent employment at the completion of the program. Indeed, I'm delighted that a number of participants have already secured permanent employment at businesses enrolled in the program. My fellow Bahamians, we are of the conviction that we have successfully navigated our country through the severest global economic crisis in the lifetime of most of us. Indeed, the Bahamas is moving briskly towards recovery and greater vitality. But just as we face down an international economic crisis, not of our own making, we must beat back a domestic challenge for which we are all responsible. This challenge is a pattern of criminal behavior that so gravely distresses us all. Crime and its causes are multifaceted. Accordingly, together with job creation, health and education, we recommit ourselves to aggressively combating criminal behavior so as to protect life and secure law and order. We are transforming the country's crime-fighting and judicial and legislative infrastructure. In the most comprehensive overhaul of our criminal laws since independence, your government passed omnibus legislation. Sentences have been toughened. Moreover, the availability of bail has been limited and restricted for individuals charged with certain offences. 2 new, highly equipped mobile stations have been delivered. They will boost the crime-fighting arsenal of the Royal Bahamas Police Force in New Providence. Other measures are being utilised to aggressively confront gun violence, the illicit drugs trade, and criminal gangs. Here in the nation's capital, we are expanding CCTV to significantly more neighborhoods during 2012. This multi-million-dollar system will be fully operational by the middle of this year. The CCTV network will be an effective tool in deterring criminal behavior and in solving crimes. To get dangerous offenders off our streets, we've dramatically increased the capacity of our criminal justice system. The Department of Public Prosecution now has additional lawyers. This is made for more timely prosecution and a reduction in the backlog of cases. We've increased the number of magistrates. A new magistrates court complex, housing all magistrates courts in New Providence, opened this month on Nassau Street. We've increased the number of justices of the Supreme Court. 2 of them are dedicated to hearing more recent criminal cases. We now have 5 courts in New Providence at the Supreme Court level dedicated to criminal matters. The new judicial complex at Bank Lane, which will accommodate new divisions of the Supreme Court, will open later this year. Yet, we know that many ounces of prevention are better than pounds and pounds of cure after crime has been committed. Accordingly, as a further investment in the social and community development, we launched Volunteer Bahamas in 2011. We've expanded urban outreach and are facilitating the broadening of networks of care and compassion through public-private partnerships. We continue to make significant investments in healthcare. In 2011, the prescription drug benefit was expanded to include all civil servants. Today, some 17,000 Bahamians, including children and individuals over 65, access life-saving prescription drugs free of charge. We've begun the transformation of the Princess Margaret Hospital into a new general hospital. The first stage of the transformation is the $55 million critical care facility. New community hospitals will be built in Exuma and Abaco this year. The refurbishment and enhancement of the accident and emergency units of both the PMH and the Rand Memorial in Grand Bahama are now complete. We continue to invest in the education and the future of our children and young people. In 2011, we increased funding for government educational scholarships to $8 million. We increased by $1 million scholarships to qualifying Bahamians unable to pay tuition costs at the College of the Bahamas. And we also increased by an additional $1 million funds for teacher training at COB. Our students deserve the best so they can pursue their individual dreams and contribute to our common good. So across the length and breadth of our Bahamas, we are heavily investing in improving the facilities in which our educators teach and our students learn. These investments will provide thousands of students with better classrooms and learning environments at the Anatole Rogers High School and TG Global Primary Schools in New Providence, the Sister Mary Patricia Russell School in Grand Bahama, schools in Spanish Wells, the NGM Major School in Long Island, the primary school at Mastic Point Andros, and the high school in Bimini. And we continue to improve the terms of engagement of teachers in the government-operated school system. Before the end of this fiscal year, teachers will begin to enjoy a new health insurance benefit which will entitle them to up to 80% of the premium for single insurance coverage to be paid by the government. Fellow Bahamians, I'm pleased to advise that most of the major works of the New Providence Road Transformation and Utilities Upgrade project are completed. I ask for the public's continuing patience. Notwithstanding the majority of the work is now completed, this does not mean that there will be no more inconveniences in some areas. Still, from east to west, north to south, and our entire city centre, we have created a brand new road transportation network. We are pleased that thousands of Bahamians in New Providence will now find relief from an unacceptable quality of water. The improved quality of water in terms of pressure, reliability, and health benefits will further enhance the quality of life. I again thank you for your patience and apologize on behalf of the government of the Bahamas for delays, inconveniences, and disruptions. Despite these challenges, we believe that in the end, it will be well worth the sacrifice. Soon we will have among the most modern networks of roads and ground transportation corridors in our region. With the new and refurbished roads, let us agree on rules for the road, including paying greater attention to traffic laws and greater civility and courtesy. New state-of-the-art traffic lights are being installed. Please heed them. New seatbelt laws are being enforced, and we are hopeful that their observance by the general public will save lives and reduce serious injury. Do not drink and drive. The lives you save may include those of your own family and friends, someone you've never met, as well as your own. We've undertaken a deliberate program of roadside enhancement. I ask that all of us act so as to keep our roadways, beautifully landscaped roundabouts, and medians clean, green, and pristine. These highways and byways belong to us all. As a country, we've made significant investment in them in terms of public funds and sacrifices by some in the private sector, as well as by motorists and pedestrians. My fellow Bahamians, investment in infrastructure so as to improve the lives of our citizens was not confined to New Providence. Extensive roadworks, public utility upgrades, and construction of new public accommodations were also carried out around our family of islands. 2 multi-million-dollar government administrative office complexes, one in Grand Bahama and the other in Abaco, will be opened in a matter of weeks. A $9 million upgraded Duran Memorial Hospital, including 2 state-of-the-art operating theaters, were completed in Grand Bahama. Critical water improvement projects were completed on virtually all our islands and on many keys, including Green Turtle Key and Grand Key in Abaco, Current Island, Harbour Island, and Central Eleuthera. In 2012, waterworks will be undertaken at Long Island, Williamstown, Exuma, Mastic Point, Nicholstown, Andros, and thereafter in Mayaguana, Cat Island, and South Andros. Last year, the Bahamas Electricity Corporation completed a number of projects to improve the electricity service around the country. Notably, a new power station was constructed in central Abaco, and a transmission line extended to Marsh Harbour. A new power station was constructed on Harbour Island, another on the mainland of Eleuthera. In Inagua, BEC acquired the electricity franchise from Morton Salt and increased the system's generating capacity by 30%. Extensive work has also been completed at Ragged Island. The island's airport was reconstructed. A new Royal Bahamas Defence Force base has been built at Gun Point, Ragged Island. This new base on our southeastern border will bolster our national security in terms of illegal migration, poaching, and gun and drug and human trafficking. My fellow Bahamians, the comprehensive and far-reaching investment of which I have reported this evening are a means to an end. This end is improvement the quality of life and well-being of every Bahamian from every walk of life throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Already, the reclamation of Montague Beach is well advanced, as are improvements to the beachside park and the adjacent Fisherman Wharf. Shortly, a similar beach reclamation project at Sanders Beach will further enhance the enjoyment to be had at the recently completed and opened beachside park along West Bay Street. The new Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium, which will be officially opened soon, is an investment in athletic prowess and Olympic dreams of young Bahamians. It is a linchpin and forerunner of the transformation of the Queen Elizabeth Sports Centre into a world-class athletic facility which will enhance the Bahamas as a sports power and as a greater venue for sports tourism. The new city of Nassau Straw Market is an investment in our world-renowned vendors, the straw and woodwork industries, indigenous souvenir production, and Bahamian arts and crafts. The dredging of Nassau Harbour, at a cost of some $52 million, has brought in hundreds of thousands of new cruise passengers. This is vital infrastructural work to secure the livelihoods of our taxi and tour drivers, hair braiders, straw vendors, wood carvers, and businesses downtown and throughout New Providence. The great promise of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is an island chain of extraordinary resources and possibilities. Our great task and mission is to turn this promise into opportunity. In order to achieve the sustainable development of our family islands, we must together spur local initiative on each island, entice residents of New Providence to return to the islands, and attract domestic and foreign direct investment. In this great national ambition, we are doing the strategic planning and making strategic investments in critical infrastructure across the islands, keys, and settlements of the entire Bahamas. Over the past several years, and markedly during the past year, these investments have amounted to hundreds of millions of dollars spent to improve the quality of life of Bahamians. These comprehensive investments in our family islands are being made in hospitals and clinics, schools and athletic facilities, roads in Acklins and North Andros, bridges in South Andros, airports in Abaco, seaports and docks in Long Island, North Eleuthera and Central Andros and Curran Island, and government administrative offices in Abaco and Grand Bahama, among other facilities. We are continuing to upgrade electricity and water supply, and helping to cost the greater reliability of telecommunications, cable television, and internet services. During this year 2012, a port will be constructed in North Abaco. The bridge linking Little and Great Exuma will be restored. A bridge linking Little and Great Abaco will be constructed. The Deadman's Key Long Island Airport will be reconstructed and upgraded. Gymnasiums will be constructed in Abaco and Eleuthera. A new fire station will be constructed in Freeport, Grand Bahama. A cultural village built in 8 Mile Rock, and additional roadworks will be undertaken in San Salvador, Enagua, Mayaguana, Cat Island, North Andros, and Central Abaco. My fellow Bahamians, last year the Bahamas was impacted by Hurricane Irene, which is a major hurricane. Residents of Acklins, Crooked Island, Cat Island, Rum Cay, Mayaguana, and Eleuthera were hit by Hurricane Irene as it cut apart through nearly all of our islands. Thankfully, we suffered no loss of life or serious injury. This year, we will go through one of the greatest rituals of our democracy. In the upcoming general election, you, the Bahamian people, will decide who will have the privilege of leading our Bahamas over the next 5 years. When we look around the world, we realize how fortunate we are that our elections should be free and fair. Our airwaves are opened and accessible. Last year, election laws were updated and modernized. For the first time in our history, Bahamian students and public officials living overseas will be able to vote. Also this year, we are inviting foreign observers to be present to witness the conduct of our elections. I again suggest to those who have yet to do so to register to vote as soon as possible. Those who are already registered are advised to collect their voter's card. I close tonight by reminding you of the 2 convictions I shared with you at the beginning of this broadcast. Despite the severe economic shock of 2008 and the challenges of tomorrow, we are a fortunate country and we are moving in the right direction. So I say to you tonight that as a people, we can rightly feel a spirit of gratitude for the many blessings of our Creator. Let us build on this spirit of gratitude with a spirit of hope. Let us do so in grateful acknowledgement of the many blessings and the promise of our beautiful and bountiful Bahama land. It is with this grateful hope and with God's guidance that we look forward to a bright future. I thank you for listening. Good evening, and again, Happy New Year to all.
The proceeding was a New Year's address by the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.